Bless up, bless up, bless up, bless up. Hope everyone's doing real good today. Let me know where you're at in the world. This is the number one chill spot on the internet. We in a real soothing vibe today. We're going to be streaming for the next little while. I see we got Riley in the building, Honey B in the building. We got Jemena B. How's it going? Let me know if you can hear me. Let me know everything is working beautifully, because your attention, your energy is your greatest currency. And when you come to the number one chill spot, I want to make sure everything is just beautiful in hindsight. We got Orlando in the building. We have Atlanta in the building. I was just out there. We have Germany, we have Belgium, we have Chicago, we have North Carolina. Oof. We have a whole lot of people. We're going to be here on YouTube for a minute. We're going to pull a couple cards, and then we're actually going to be moving over to Twitch for the next session, and I'd love for you to join me over there as well. We're going to be diversifying some of the streams on different platforms. My voice is a little low. I think I'm just talking low, to be honest. I was sick last week, so my throat is a little, actually, volume on my end actually shows that it's fine. So let's double check. Maybe just turn it up on your end. All right. Hey. You know, we're coming into the end of the Monday to Friday week. It's Thursday. I woke up. I've been doing this thing every single day where I work out 2 times a day. And so far, the first few days, it's been really cool. 1 workout outside and 1 workout inside. About 30, 45 minutes each, whatever. Sometimes the time varies. And I really like this challenge I have set for myself, because you know, how often do we force ourselves to go outside and move our body, you know, like to actually have intentional fitness or deep breathing. So every single day I'm like always thinking, like, okay, so when am I going to go outside? Like, let's make sure that we are preparing for this. And this morning I knew I had a very busy day. So the first thing I did was just go for like a long 40-minute walk and just recollected my mind, you know, looked at the trees, you know, sat by the water, you know, did a little bit of Qigong, you know, just did a little bit of walking, because, you know, when I watched some of these Blue Zone shows, the number one thing that you notice that like some of the people who live the longest are simply the individuals that walk, you know, that walk with grace, that move their body. When I was in Japan, I noticed that. Japan, you see a lot of old people and they're healthy, they're strong, but they're moving their body. So I told myself, I'm like, you know what, no matter how busy I get, I am no longer sacrificing sleep. Nope. Because sleep is self-care, sleep is rest. I'm no longer sacrificing, you know, not working out or something in the name of being busy. Nope, because that's the foundation, that's our temple. And I'm definitely making sure that, you know, we're nourishing ourselves every day with the proper food, so we can focus, so we can think right, we can feel right, and just have the energy. Because one thing that's unfortunate is when you have so many ideas and there's so many things you want to do, but then you just simply don't feel like you have the energy, right? And a lot of times it's due to our lifestyle. A lot of the times it's simply due to the way we are living our lives. And we just have to make some micro changes. It's not even really like a big change. A lot of the time it's really just a micro change. So we're going to get into some cards from the reminder deck. You know, 33 reminders to support you on your journey and your expansion. Now, I designed this card, these deck of cards. Sorry, cat got my tongue today. I designed this deck of cards over a year, about 15 months it took us. So many versions and drafts, and oh man, but the colors are immaculate. Let me know if anyone in the chat has already purchased a deck. Let me know if we have any reminder deck tribe individuals in here. We're gonna get started. Let me know if you got some tea. I'm about to grab my tea. I got some tea bags today. I'm not gonna lie. I drank all my high grade loose leaf tea. Like, I'm out. I gotta go re-up. And we really don't even have like a strong plan for today. One of my favorite things to do is just to see where the energy takes us, to like remove all expectations in our ego, and to just have trust that we can express ourselves and connect. The best work comes when the mind is like water, free from ego, expectations, and calm. You understand? Gentle and simply a little bit of motion. Okay, we got ASMR Lavender. Oh, I see we got a lot of ASMR folks in the building. I noticed that the ASMR community really embraces the channel. I guess the channel is kind of like, a little bit of a ASMR vibe. So let me first off just show you some of these colors. Like, these colors are immaculate. I'm actually very happy and proud of these because, it's not easy bringing a product to market. It's actually really hard and really expensive. Like, I didn't do pre-orders. I just put up all the money myself, and I was like, oh my God, this is scary. Plus, like, for a whole year, I'm just paying people to help get this to market. Like, it was an investment, but we have such beautiful colors, and a lot of these cards are simply, things I learned along my journey. Each card represents a space in my life, a time, a season where I had a revelation, and we're gonna go through at least one or two cards, and then, like I said, I'm actually gonna hop over to Twitch, and then we're gonna go vibe out over there. Someone said drop a mixtape of your music. You know what, at the moment right now, I don't want to drop any self-produced music in any sense of business way. I kind of want to keep music in this purity state, just for not for myself. Like, I will share it, but I don't want any business around it, So, y'all, I have something to announce tomorrow that's actually a part of music and a lot of different things. So you'll see there's going to be some things you can dive into real soon. Someone said, what's Twitch? Twitch is a streaming platform. If you look in the description of this video, there's a link right there for my Twitch. Now, Twitch has reached out to me, and they're like, hey, we want to see what you can do over on our platform, so I'm gonna go over there a couple of times a week, and we're gonna stream as well over there. So I would love for you to join me, because I don't have no people over there. I need my people to be there with me. You know what I'm saying? We need to bring the positive vibes over there. Someone said, I live and breathe for the reminder deck. Thank you for this gift. Oh no, thank you for purchasing. Thank you for purchasing. Thank you to everyone who was patient. I know some of you had a little bit of a delay with the shipping sometimes. We are a small business running out of a small warehouse, so I appreciate that. And we have been sending decks globally, like all over the world. It's actually been insane how many people have purchased a deck, and from where. Like, we're going to the Netherlands, we're going to Australia, Africa, we're going to America, other places in Canada. We've been all over the place. It's been beautiful. It's been a beautiful journey, I'm just glad to be on this journey together. So let's pull a card. What are we feeling for today? Someone said, are you still vibing in Arizona? I've actually never been to Arizona. I was over in Joshua Tree, and I definitely was loving the rock formations, loving the energy over there. It was beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. We got Cuba in the building. Oh my gosh, shout out to Cuba. We so global. We so global at the #1 chill spot on the internet. Our first card will be, our highest form of nutrition is in our expression. Self-expression is nourishment for our spirit. as food and water is for our body. We know that. You are a creative individual, a creative being. Do something to express yourself today. I do not believe there is a human being on this planet without a creative bone. I don't like to hear when people say, I'm not the creative type. That's because people equate creativity or artistry to like the typical things like painting or singing and all that. But no. We all have some type of vision. We all have some type of taste. We all have a spirit. We all have a soul. There was a time in my life where I got so busy with like just being an adult, I was in the cycle of adulting, and there's nothing wrong with that. I was making money, I was taking care of business, I was being a father. But over time I felt myself just like falling into a well within myself, but like a negative well, a void. And I didn't have much energy for myself. And I was like, man, I'm making money, but I don't feel good. And I wasn't expressing myself because I told myself I didn't have time. I told myself I didn't have the perfect conditions to do the things I wanted to do. So I put it off for another 3 months, another 4 months. I think 6 months went by and I was just working. And then I finally said, you know what? I felt like a fish out of water, and I am a Pisces. So I made this challenge for myself and I said, I'm going to make a video every single day. And at that time, that wasn't possible because I like to make videos that had a lot of editing and it take me, time. But I said, you know what? I'm just going to work within the boundaries that I have. I'm going to simplify and just work with what I got. So that's when I got into podcast videos. And I made a video every day. And instantly by like day 1, but by day 3, I was like a fully renewed, recalibrated human being. And I was like, oh my God, how is that possible? How did I completely just transform how I feel? And I felt like I was just, I felt like I was low-key falling into depression. And it was in that moment I realized our highest form of nutrition is in our expression. Actually expressing ourselves, getting creative, doing the little things that we love. That is nourishment for our body, for our soul, for our spirit, for our mind. Doesn't matter how much good food you eat, how much money you make, I don't care. At some point, the soul wants to express, it wants to do something, it wants to play, it wants to be like a child again. Now, this card is actually me on the card, as you can see. That's actually me. Hee hee. I love it. Should we pull another card? Yep, we still have a little bit of time. We got a couple Pisces in the building. I love that. Shout out to all my Pisces out there. All the water babies. Man, the colors. Which color am I really feeling for today? Hey, I like this one. Sometimes all that you have is all that you need. Sometimes all that you have is all that you need. Check the palette out on there. That's a beautiful color palette. I love it. It's like color therapy. Shout out to Adrian. He was the designer that I got from London. On the back it says, don't underestimate yourself, my friend. God has given you everything that you need to succeed. And sometimes all that you have is truly all that you need. You are ready. You are ready. And there have been times in my life where, again, I was waiting for the perfect moment, waiting for the perfect conditions, not realizing I was already in the right conditions. I had everything that I needed to succeed because I realized beyond the materials and the external things that we want or that we feel that we need, every single one of us, I believe we have the resources within us, right? We have the ability to think up great ideas, right? We have the strength if we can just find it and cultivate it through our discipline. We have the love, we have the compassion, we have these inner resources. And sometimes we think, oh, I need all these people in my life. You may just have like one solid person. And at this moment, that may be all that you need. Work with what you got. When I first started making videos, I had like no equipment. And I was like doing big projects for people. And I had one little lens and I had nothing to hold the camera steady. So I would actually use my rollerblades. I'd throw these rollerblades on and I would just like go. And that's how I got smooth movements. I didn't have a dolly. I didn't have a glide cam. I didn't have like whatever type of crane things that other people had. And people were like, yo, this guy's really just on his rollerblades. And they're like, what is he doing? But when they found when they would receive the finished product, they were like, oh my God, this guy's a beast. Because I learned to work with what I had, you understand, and appreciate. I actually really think sometimes limitations are so amazing, especially for the creative process or anything in life, because limitations will push you against the wall and you really get creative and work with what you got. And once you realize you can like make magic out of just, 2 ingredients, once you have everything, it's game over. So sometimes all that you have, my friend, is all that you need. Yeah, you need more money. I know it's hardships right now. Let's calm ourselves, you understand? Let's diversify, let's think, let's educate ourselves, let's save. Maybe we got to balance our budgets a little bit more. But you have the tools, you understand? You have like right now access to any type of information. You have access to tons of people. There's a community here where we can connect, you understand? We have a Discord. I'm also launching something tomorrow that's even more for the community. So stay tuned for the video tomorrow. It is actually a guided meditation. Sometimes all that we have is all that we need, Now I have like, in regards to creativity, I'm gonna bring it back there. Now I have tons of equipment, like I have 2 beautiful cameras. As you can see here, I have a computer here. I got the mixing board. But there was a time I didn't have anything and we still created, you understand? Think of the earliest humans and how they were creating and expressing themselves. They're the ones that made instruments. They would go find some like trees, chop it down, carve it up, and then realize that they carved a hole and then they breathed through it and made a sound. Like they worked with what they had, because if you think about it, the earth gives us everything that we need. It gives us all the food that we need, the supplies that we need, the materials that we need, right? Everything you see is basically alchemy. It came from the earth, right? And it started in somebody's mind. I love that. Anytime I look at something that has been made, I'm like, that started in the mind of somebody. That was an idea, an invisible thought, completely never seen, never heard before. But someone saw it and felt it and believed it enough. And that belief poured through their actions. And then at some point it came into reality. And to me, that is the power that we have. Where can you get the cards? Oh yes, I am horrible at plugging my own stuff. Oh my God. You can get it at jano.com. I'll put it in the chat right here. And I will also pin it. I've recently, can I pin it? I don't know how to pin it here. I've recently, hired people onto my team, and financially it's a little bit stressful, but just mentally it's freed up a lot of space. So you're gonna see a lot of changes. We got an email newsletter now. Make sure you join that. I'm gonna pin this to the top. Join that. We have an email. There's a lot of things coming down. The works. It's beautiful. And it's just beautiful that at one point it was just myself, and I expanded past myself. I did everything I possibly can, and then the universe made it happen and brought people into my life that now we can take things to the next season. But I first had to max out what I could do as an individual and work with what I had. Sometimes all that I have is all that I need. Shout out to Gurpal Gill in the building who said live meditations are awesome. Oh yeah, we got those. We got those happening. Understand. Every single day we should be taking a moment to simply breathe. Breathe. A deep breath in. And a deep breath out. If this is this not the number one chill spot on the internet, please tell me like where is. If it is, like tell me. I'm pretty sure this is. And I plan to have the number one chill spot on the internet on the world until the day I pass. So that's what we do over here. It's a mindful vibe, you understand? We just we really just be kicking it. We be having a good time. We be breathing. We be listening to music. You know, I love the handpan. At a time when I wanted to change my life, I had to really dive deep and, you know, assess what I was allowing into my life. And I realized that my eyes, realized that like my ears, you know, our skin, you know, our mouth, you know, everything's like a portal into our spirit. So I was like, what am I allowing in to my temple to engage with my spirit? And I realized I was listening to a lot of sound that just wasn't good for me. You know, a lot of music where, yeah, you know, in doses, it's great. A little bit of motivation, you know, a little bit of energy in the gym. But on replay all day, every day, nah. It wasn't good for my spirit. So, you know, I went on a journey of just completely eliminating anything I felt that wasn't in alignment. You know, no, I changed the way I eat. I changed the people I hung out with. You know, I went celibate. I remember I quit drinking. You know, I quit smoking, and I actually removed music even with words, and I started to dive into instrumentals because I wanted more time just to think, you know. I wanted to just clean my own slate and just see what happens. And I realized there was a lot of things that I was keeping within myself. You know, I was ignoring myself. I was distracting myself. And once I addressed those things and I just forgave myself for the things I was upset with myself for, the things that I regretted, you know, those naturally just, you know, released out of my system, and I felt lighter. I felt like I was able to actually express and create and come up with ideas, because there was actually a point in my life where I wasn't able to make anything anymore. Like I would just wake up and nothing would come into my brain. Like I had no ideas, I had no confidence, and I was just like, you know, on a downward spiral, and it was really scary. You know, at the time I was like, oh my God, did like God or the universe or something just like take my gift away from me? But nobody can curse who God bless. It's us that sometimes walk away from our own center, from our own source, you understand? And sometimes we don't even realize that we've created this domino effect and we've jumped into this negative cycle. But I always say, to end a negative cycle, all you have to do is take one positive step. One positive step to begin a new cycle, right? And that one positive step can literally just be so simple. And when you do that one step, you congratulate yourself. You're like, yo, we making momentum. You know, you gotta be your own cheerleader, because ain't nobody gonna cheer for you when you're at the bottom except for you. That's facts. When you're at the bottom, not a lot of people even want to be around you. Once you start to win, everyone's like wants to be part of your wins. You really gotta believe in yourself. You really gotta cheerlead for yourself, even on those days you don't feel it. You gotta find new ways to talk to yourself, and that's what I had to do. I looked at my life. I'm like, yo, my life is not good. My life is in shambles. You know, I've created this negative domino effect because of a negative cycle, and I allow myself to spiral through it, but I can change it in this moment right now, right? The only thing that is constant is change. You know, the tide goes in, the tide goes out, does it not, my friends? Hey. Someone says they stopped smoking and drinking, had a few relapses, but I'm human. Yeah, give yourself the grace. The fact that you made that intention to eliminate some things in your life, and if you had a relapse or two, that's whatever, bro. That's whatever, fam, sis. Like, just keep on moving, do your thing. You know, we learn every time we stumble. I think a good sign of mental health is the grace you can give yourself when you make a mistake, right? How much grace do you give yourself to simply make mistakes? Being a human being is all about making a mistake, isn't it not? Like literally about making mistakes. And some of the best like creations or inventions happened by mistakes, which is so cool. If there's like any artists in the chat right now, you know that like sometimes you've done things and you did not mean for it to be that way. It just happened. It was like an accident. You know, I was in Nairobi at this museum and I saw this painting, and in the paint it had coffee. It had like a coffee stains on the painting, and it also had I think some of the coffee grains. And I was sitting there looking at it, and I was like, I wonder if that was intentional, or maybe they were painting, and the coffee they spilt it by accident, and then they realized, oh, it looks like a vibe, because it looked like an accident, but it worked perfectly. And I love that, right? That is the human spirit right there, you know, turning a mess and transforming it into magic. Someone said, why does this feel like an ayahuasca session? Because it is, you understand? We don't even need anything external. That's because like ayahuasca, all those type of things, is like we still have that ability within us to activate those same type of feelings and experiences. And that's what we do at the #1 chill spot on the internet. I have an announcement tomorrow, and I'm going to be making some big changes to the channel. Not big changes, like, but like actually kind of a big change. I'm going to be going about things in a different direction, and I really need everyone's support. And I'm really going to be creating the things I've been wanting to create. And I want to create the best user experience possible. Oh, so I have to continue this stream over on Twitch. Now, this is my first time streaming on Twitch. So if you want to continue in this stream, there is a link in this description right now. Hit that link, right? It's twitch.tv/hindsight, and meet me over there. I'll literally be there in like a couple minutes, and we're going to continue for 2 more hours. I'll be on stream for 2 more hours, and I would love for you to come join me over there, because I need my tribe with me. You know, I need my tribe with me. I don't know who's over there. And I want to bring the #1 chill spot over there. So see me over there, and I love y'all. We're going to continue.